Hi guys, good evening. This is Saturday and evening in Europe. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Piotr here. It's a pre-open preparation plus calendar. So without a further delay, let's check what we are going to have when it comes to the calendar, and then we'll try to check charts. 1, 2, maybe 3, depends on the time. So let's have a look what's going on when it comes to the calendar. Hi guys, good evening. Hopefully you had or you still have very good Saturday. Mine was quite good. The whole week was amazing. But if you think that the fireworks, post-FOMC fireworks, that's everything happened last week, cannot be repeating next week, you are wrong. Pretty busy calendar again with 3 central bankers. So let's go through the calendar right here, right now. Monday, China. Industrial production, retail sales, and unemployment number. From US, Empire State Manufacturing. So the Chinese numbers, so the morning hours, Tokyo hours, could be very, very busy, right? Tuesday. First Central Bank, Bank of Japan. I don't know what they can do more. Probably they own like everything in Japan, of course, joke right here, right now, but probably we are going to get something like, yeah, infinity, unlimited, buy more, whatever, right? But guys, be careful and just get back 1 week earlier what happened during the FOMC or post-FOMC, right? Then Tuesday during European hours, we have the UK job numbers, unemployment claims, European ZEV index. That's gonna be quite important. And then in US during the US hours, we have a retail sales and Mr. Powell first time. Wednesday, United Kingdom CPI, PPI. That's gonna be very interesting, and you are going to see why. We do have during the New York session Canadian CPI and some numbers when it comes to the US housing market, housing starts and building permits. And Mr. Powell second time. Thursday, Tokyo session might be interesting. We have New Zealand GDP. We do have Australian unemployment number. And we have 2 central banks. During the European session, we have Swiss National Bank. So the Swiss franc is gonna be, very focused. Traders are going to focus on what's going to happen, what the guys from the S&B are going to do. So focus on Swiss franc and of course focus on Bank of England. That's why Wednesday UK CPI and PPI are going to be that important, taking into the consideration previous week minus 20% plus drop when it comes to the GDP on a monthly basis, right? When it comes to the US session, Philadelphia Fed index, and again, weekly jobless claims. Friday, Australia, Canada, UK, retail sales, JPY, CPY, meaning that there is CPI out of Japan. Third time, very close to the end of the session, Mr. Powell. So that's going to be another busy week, I truly believe, especially that we have quadrupled riches coming next Friday as well, but that's for separate video. All right, thank you very much. Have a great rest of the Saturday. Have a great Sunday. Let's recharge the batteries and let's come back to the market on Monday. Take care and see you with few charts. Alright, so we know what's going to happen when it comes to the calendar for the next week. Let's have a look what kind of the price action we've seen post FOMC, what was the weekly close and what might happen when it comes to the euro dollar for the next week, both from bears and bulls perspective. So let's start with the bulls perspective. Because I think that towards the end of the week, bulls stepped in and they were trying to defend yearly open. As you can see, red dotted line, right? There was a test, but the weekly close much higher. So from that perspective, we're discussing as long as we are above, right, we might see another rally when it comes to euro dollar, and overall we might see some kind of the new range down towards yearly open and up towards previous week high and what we've seen 2 weeks ago. So we are talking about the levels close to 114.20, right? So quite good price action. So it was the midweek reversal we discussed previously when we were trying to build the plan what might happen around the FOMC, if it's going to be like till Wednesday, one side action, after Wednesday, another side, and actually that happened. So the previous week was quite good. Now, from the daily chart perspective, it's gonna be better visible. We stopped based on the some kind of the over/under, right? And we've seen the rejection. Now we are going to fight with this yearly open, where the price very often reacted in 2020. When it comes to 2020, we've seen here and here many times the fight between bulls and bears. So switching to the hourly chart when it comes to the dollar yen, if you remember, we had a discussion. If euro dollar is going to break through that consolidation, it's gonna to open yearly open. Sorry guys, because of the size, right? So they double it. What was going on here? They double it to the downside, and then some light profit taking towards the end of the day, end of the week. So what I'm going to look at? Well, we discussed that this possible the range, mostly because of the euro pound, but that's for another video, separate video related to the pound ahead of the Bank of England. But here, well, the bulls, there could be attempt to break previous week low, right? And another attempt to attack yearly open. But from the intraday perspective, we have quite nice demand zone over here, right? So Friday, on Friday we hit that zone to the pip, almost, right? So from the bulls perspective, I wouldn't be surprised to see market going a little bit lower, going back, retest, and going higher, at least towards previous week open, right? From the bulls perspective. Now, what the bears are gonna do, I think that the previous week open levels close to 113 might be tested, right? So we might see the bounce between the yearly open and 113, for example. So let's switch to the hourly. Let's have a look what we have when it comes to the previous week open. And as you can see, we are not gonna discover America, but we have like 7 lower shadows based on the previous week open. Market was trying to hold that over the course of the Friday during the European session, but then we saw the break to the downside when it comes to the euro dollar. So I think that retest of that 113.20, all right, that could be eventually the chance from the bears perspective, all right? So I think when it comes to the euro dollar, the plan is quite clear. I've mentioned that when it comes to the pound, we are going to have a separate video with the preparation of the trading plan ahead of the Bank of England, but of course cable is another major, and we are going to spend a minute or two discussing the price action we've seen on the cable. So pound on the weekly chart hit this huge supply, right? And we've seen the rejection. The bad thing here is that the bulls were not able to hold 26.40. The good thing is that the bulls were able to hold, when it comes to the weekly close, the broken levels when we are taking into the consideration opening and closing levels. So they were not able to hold upper shadows, but they were the bulls were able to hold the prices when it comes to opening and closing levels. So 125 for now is a little bit of the support, is where the demand might be visible at the very beginning of the next week ahead of the Bank of England, especially that we have here the local weakness. So I would take into the consideration like 50% of that. So the same situation we discussed with euro dollar, there might be some price action to the downside at the very beginning of the week to hit this local weakness from the daily chart, right? Meaning that market is going to try to hit more stops to find the liquidity below the low, let's say towards 24.40, 24.20. If you remember previously, it was quite important zone, right? And maybe market will try to retest 26, 20, 26.40, the breakdown level from the previous week, right? So the bulls are looking for opportunity to try to go long around 24.20, maybe a little bit lower towards 23.50 as well, right? What about the bears? I think bears smell the blood. Finally, based on the bears way of thinking, pound is getting back and connecting with reality, right? If you remember, more than minus 20% drop when it comes to the GDP on a monthly basis, right? Still, I think pound is quite high. So The bears, of course, 2640 is residential area for now, in my opinion, as well as previous week open around 2680, right? So any kind of the spike, right? That could be the fuel for the bears. Now, I think that this 2640, this previous double top right now may work as an over under. So overall, I do prefer these levels between 2640. So a little bit of the upside and then continuation of the sell-off. If we are going to make the downside break and daily close below 125, especially 2 consecutive daily close below 125, 120 could be the next target. Guys, it was my pleasure to make this pre-market open, actually part 1 probably, for you. Hopefully you will like it. I'm going to get back with more either tomorrow evening or very early Monday morning. Take care, enjoy, and see you around. Goodbye.